All right, welcome to the last unit or last lesson in this unit, and it's just measuring and using scale. What this does is it leads you into your final project for this unit. So I want you to be able to apply the scale to real-world situations. So stealing some stuff from Mr. Yunt, ended up with floor plans. So basically builders will provide you with dimensions of rooms, but if you are the person that's doing the construction, if you're the carpenter or the plumber, they'll never give you measurements. So for example, they're not going to give you the measurement of how far is this sink from the wall. That's something you got to figure out on your own. So you got to look at the drawings and you have to measure it out, figure out the scale, etc., etc. So we're going to simplify it here. I'm not going to worry about having to find all the little dimensions. Basically, we're just going to practice just finding general dimensions of the room. So with a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to do the first room out the long way, and then you start seeing the pattern or the shortcut and figuring out why these carpenters or plumbers, when you're on the work site, why they're so quick with this information. So again, you're going to need a ruler. In this case, it's a metric drawing, so I'm going to use a metric ruler. First room, just going to do the dimensions here. It doesn't matter which room. So that wall, according to my drawing, is about 3.1 centimeters. And I want to do it in centimeters because the scale, the measurement scale is in centimeters. So I know that the drawing is 3.1 centimeters. So the process again, take the number that's by itself, 3.1, divide it by its corresponding, which is 1. So calculator or head tells you it's 3.1. Take that factor, multiply it by the other number, which is the 5. And what we find is 15.5 meters, which is a huge room. I don't know who builds a house this big, but anyway, 15.5 meters is the dimension. With the builders, when you're doing this, this is always true. You're always dividing by 1. So these guys, what they do is they go to the drawing, they take their tape measure or ruler or whatever on site, they measure it, and this is the multiplication factor right here, that 5. So that 5 tells them what to do with the measurement that is on their measuring tape or on the ruler from the drawing. Okay, so basically this room, what you will do is you're going to set up a chart. So you're going to go drawing and actual, and to keep it neat, I guess you can add another one, just put room in here. So I'm just going to call this room 1. So the drawing was 3.1 centimeters by, flipping my ruler around, oops, too far, and I'm just going to say that's the other dimension. So from there to there looks like 4.5. So I don't have to worry about going through this long process up here that I talked about, because magnification factor takes care of everything for me. So I'm just going to multiply those numbers by 5. So I end up with 15.5 meters by, when you multiply the 4.5 by 5, 4.5 times 5 is 225, which is absolutely ludicrous. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. 225 meter room. It's like an arena. Who builds an arena this big, or a house this big? So probably not the best scale there. I wonder if I have a typo. Anyhow, we'll finish it off. Doesn't matter. That's a room for a giant. Think of it that way. So number 2, room 2. I'll do one more just to show you the general pattern involved. So again, I get this room to be about 2. Let's call it 2.4. So room 2, 2.4 by, flipping it around, and that turns out to be pretty much 2 right on. So multiplying that by 5, that means that the room is 12 meters by 10 meters. I wonder if I did that one wrong. I did do that one wrong. I forgot there's a decimal there. That's why it seems a little large. It's still huge. That's first bedroom, because that's really what bedroom, or the room number 2 is a bedroom. According to my drawing here, it's 12 meters by 10 meters. That's 36 by 30 feet. That's a fairly large room. That's probably a little bigger than a standard classroom in a school. So that's a great bang for your buck if you're getting a room that big. So anyway, that's how you handle the drawings that look like that. The next page or the next slide, if we take a look at that particular example, you'll notice that we've gone from metric to imperial, and this is not very common. I mean, if you did this, probably fired by the architectural office that you're working for if you had a scale of 1 centimeter to 8 feet, but regardless, it's possible to cross over with the different scales. So again, basically what you're doing is for every centimeter that you measure, you're just going to multiply it by 8 to find its actual dimension. So if we set up a chart similar, and this is really all I want you to do in the homework, you're just going to set up these 3 columns. I'm only looking for major rooms, so for example this one, you're probably just going to measure off, say, 4 rooms for me, because that gives me a feel for whether you know what you're doing. And you then go and grab a ruler, and using the ruler again, taking the measurements, I end up with 2.6, let's say, by, flip the ruler around, and that's 3.5. So now you take those 2 numbers and you multiply it by 8. And that's really, like I said, that's what the carpenters are doing in their head when they're trying to figure out the actual measurements or dimensions. So, so it's 20.8 feet by 3.5 times 8 by 28 feet. So that's a pretty nice sized living room for you right there. All right, so one more. I'll do room number 2. The ruler's already that way, so I'll leave it there. So that's 1.8, let's call it. 1.8. And if I flip it around so I get the other dimension, I'll go to closet door. Pretty much just straight on the nose with 2. Multiply that by 8. That bedroom is 16 by 8 times 1.8. A little bit more reasonable, 14.4 feet. All right. The problem, again, and we talked about this earlier, why do we not like mixing? It's because you can't have decimals when you're measuring feet. If you told the carpenter 14.4 feet, that means nothing, because remember we talked about imperials measured in 8ths, 16ths, half inch, quarter inch, etc., etc. So 0.4, absolutely not very handy at all. So you're going to have a couple of drawings to go through in the homework, getting those dimensions, just practicing for that. And then ultimately what you're going to be doing is you're going to be designing your own house. So the issue though is I'm giving you a lot and I'm telling you how much of that lot you can cover. So there's a little bit more thinking involved when you're designing the footprint for that house. And then everything's going to stem from that for future homework and projects. So anyhow, that finishes up Unit 3 for us. You are working toward, you need to get your foldable finished after you get this homework done. And after you're foldable, you will need to complete the practice test. And then you have your time to work on the major project for this particular unit. And the project for this unit spans into Unit 4, so you're going to continue with the project into the next unit.